Oh no! So what we're experiencing here is technical difficulties of idiocy because somehow I haven't turned on my mic. And therefore, all of this vast wisdom that I am imparting to you is not being captured. So, what I can tell you, I'm going to try to recreate what I said. I mean, I talked for frickin' 9 minutes, and none of which you will hear. But anyway, so I'm telling you a little about this sari. So this particular sari is 5 feet long, and it's 45 inches wide-ish, and it has a border that runs the entire length. Actually, there's a border on each side of that entire length, and they're different. So the border on one side is different than the border on the other side. And then at the very, very, very end of that 5 feet, 5 yards, at the end of that 5 yards is this very wide border that we're looking at here. So what I'm planning to do is make 2 items out of this sari. One thing is I'm going to make a top, just a top, that's gonna use this wide border as the bust part. So here we see that I'm going to iron it so that I have a nice folded edge, because when you pin that bodice piece, you need to pin it on a fold. So you're cutting on the fold and you're making like a mirror image. One shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder, etc. So this is what we're doing here. We're getting ready to pin the bodice, the first half of the bodice, the front or the back, as the case may be, onto this sari. And I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk to you about what I'm doing and pinning and getting it straight and blah, 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 blah. But what really happens is I'm going to start having other thoughts. I'm going to start wondering if I'm doing it most efficiently. And then I'm going to come to an abrupt stop, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to subject you to all of this. So I'm going to turn off the camera and I'll show you later. And what actually happened is I did that, and I sat down to think, and then I decided that for this top, for this single top, that I want to use this wide and very colorful border, that I should turn the fabric in the opposite direction. And if I do that, this border will be long enough for me to get not just the front bodice piece out of it, but the back bodice piece out of it as well. So that's what happens off camera. So I'm just gonna stop this farce right now and move on.
Day 2.
And so what I can't show you anymore, because it's already done, the past is the past, there's no looking back, is that I did decide that I could, then I had to cut the skirt part of the top. So the top is using the exact same pattern as the dress. And we know that it has a little short bodice, empire waist, and then a gathered skirt that falls previously to the knee. But in the case of this thing that we're making now, it's going to fall about 8-9 inches below that empire waist. So it can be worn with jeans. It can be worn over jeans or over some linen pants. Who knows what I've got. So what I had decided to do was, on the lower right, you see that there's this really pretty border. This is going to be the bottom of that skirt part of the blouse, of the top that I'm making. And then, because there's so much motion in the blouse, then I'm going to let the sleeves be kind of boring and just cut it from the body of the sari with this nice stylized flower design. If you look close, it's like a beige background with like teal colored flowers. And those flowers became important to me because the border on the lower right, this border that we can see, the border looks one way, looks like one thing on one side of the fabric, but on the other side, it has an extra element to it. It sort of has like a diamond design built into it. I used that diamond design in the blouse that I'm making, and then I used this plain border in the dress that I'm making. But what that means is all of the other pieces need to point that flower design in the same direction. So if we're looking at this blue border here on the right, the lower right, and we're saying, oh, that's going to be the hem on my long skirt as part of the actual dress. So what that means is that the flower design will be pointing large side down in the skirt of the dress. And therefore what that means is that the bodice of the dress and the sleeve of the dress also needs to be cut with this flower motif large side and so that means that the sleeve of the blouse needs to have Trust me, boys and girls, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and engineering this, and maybe this is like, snap your fingers for you, but this is a new skill for me, and wow, this was tough thinking. So this is where we are in day 2. We've started cutting out certain pieces. Once my mind has determined, yes, the piece is pointing in the right direction, Then we cut out the next piece.
2,000 years later.
And for day 3, what we see is that I have 2 piles here. There's the pile that has the top, the blouse, with lots of color and lots of design. And then we have a pile that is the dress, 2 piles of this fabric. And then on the third side, I've got zippers and buttons and thread, and I've got it all ready to go. All ready to go to my nice lady who is a fabulous seamstress who's gonna turn this sari into 2 works of art.